you can believe it, Hollywood incidents from the past were even stranger than the ones we see now. As things stood back then, companies and powerful men did have more freedom to kill because society was more traditional. But it wasn't just men. Another thing that a lot of famous women did was drink and have hookups. Hollywood had its best years from the 1920 years to the 1960, but the industry didn't always do well during this time. The most important scandals that Hollywood tried to hide can be found at the end of this movie. Fatty Arbuckle's charge of manslaughter. It's possible that the first big incident in Hollywood started in 1921. At the time, Virginia Rapay was an unknown actor and Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle was a comedian. The two met at a party and ended up staying in the same hotel room. Rapay was screaming in pain, and other guests ran into the room when they heard her screams coming from the room next door. A few days later, she died of a ruptured bladder, and her friends said that Arbuckle had raped her and killed her by mistake. The comedian was charged with manslaughter, but the charges were dropped after all 3 cases where he was found not guilty. The date that Carol Brady had with her son. Let's look at the bright side by talking about the time Carol Brady met her own son, except that she didn't really do that. In the 1970s, Florence Henderson played Carol on the long-running TV show The Brady Bunch. She went on a date with Barry Williams, who played her oldest son Greg on the show. Williams wrote about this in his book When I Was a Kid, Brady. I was a young Greg, which came out in 1992. She was 36 years old and he was 16 years old when they went to dinner. But it's important to remember that Henderson went home to her husband and 4 kids after the date with a kiss on the face. The woman said, I had no idea that he was planning to date me. Still, it was a good story. She played a lead role in an adult movie. While she was still a girl, Joan Crawford is said to have been in a short adult movie called Velvet Lips. This was before she became famous. She signed with MGM Studios when she was a big star, so they were eager to find and destroy the movie so it wouldn't hurt her career again. Eddie Mannix was a well-known fixer who worked at MGM. He may have worked with the mob to get the movie. They found some extortionists who said they would give them the movie in exchange for $100,000, 0 cents, which was a lot of money back then. People think that Mannix may have just given up the money. Another idea is that he offered the extortionists $25,000, 0 cents for the movie, and told them that the mob would kill them if they didn't pay. The movie, on the other hand, was never shown to the public. The killing by the mafia. She liked men. A lot. Which was bad. In 1958, she was seeing Johnny Stompanato, who was a known gangster. It wasn't a surprise that the relationship was rough from the start. After that, Stompanato's dead body was found in Turner's house, having been stabbed. Turner's 14-year-old daughter was arrested for the murder. Turner's daughter said she had hurt Stompanato by protecting her mother from him out of self-defense. Turner went to court and told the judge what happened that terrible night. The jury all agreed that the offender had a right to do what he did because he needed to protect himself. Later, it was said that Turner had killed her husband and put her daughter in charge of the crime. The strange death of Paul Byrne. It was thought that producer Paul Byrne killed himself in their home in 1932. He was married to Jean Harlow. The cops found a strange letter he had sent to Harlow, in which he said he was sorry for what he had done to her. The last line says, "You know that last night was just a joke." Harlow flatly refused to answer any questions, so no one could figure out what he was talking about. Between Byrne and Dorothy Millett before he married Harlow, they were very much together. Doctors told Byrne she would never wake up again after she fell into a coma. It took 10 years, but he met and married Jean Harlow, and that changed his whole life. Byrne called Millett to his house when he found out she had woken up from her coma and wanted to see him. He is thought to have made his wife leave for the evening, possibly after an argument. The next day, the body of Byrne, the gun, and the strange note were all found. Millett went missing for 9 days and his body was found in a river. It was thought that she had killed herself. It's all weirder than fiction. Judy Garland was in pain and had to go without food. When Judy Garland signed with MGM, she was still a girl, but she was put under a lot of pressure right away to keep her slim look and had to do hard work. The directors and crew of the show constantly swore at the 14-year-old and called her names like fat little pig with pigtails and other hurtful things. MGM president Louis B. Mayer put her on a strict diet of coffee, cigarettes and diet pills when she was 18. Garland was given booze pills to help her stay slim and awake for as long as possible. After that, they would give her a sleepy pill to help her rest and then a pep pill to get her going again. It's likely that drugs like amphetamines and barbiturates were given to her. She became addicted to them and in the end she died at age 47. Many people were sad and only a few were shocked. The culture of diet pills. Judy Garland wasn't the only one who lost out because of this bad management. Debbie Reynolds remembers that MGM Studios sent her to the doctor to get vitamin shots because they saw that her health was getting worse because she worked too many hours. The shots really did contain amphetamines, and their main goal was to help people keep a healthy weight. Luckily, she said no, which kept her from getting hurt. Female stars were forced to have abortions. Some of Hollywood's best actresses, like Judy Garland, Jean Harlow, and Joan Crawford, were forced to have abortions by their companies. We can't even imagine how much control the studios had over the stars' lives. A lot of actresses and other famous people were forced to have abortions by their companies. If a star wasn't married or was having an affair, she would be sent to the hospital with a fake name. Clark Gable had a child that no one knew about. Clark Gable got a little more than he expected when he played the lead role in The Call of the Wild with Loretta Young in 1935. Even though Gable was married to Maria Langham at the time, he had an affair with Young, which led to the birth of their daughter, Judy. Young left the country as soon as she started to show, so that no one would know she was pregnant, gave birth in California, and then took the child home with them. Judy, who died in 2011, was 31 years old when she finally learned where she came from. In public, Gable never said that Judy was his daughter. Religious Americans were furious about John Lennon, and even though John Lennon was involved in much bigger scandals during and after his death, the one that people were most worried about was when he said that the Beatles were more famous than Jesus. It didn't cause a lot of trouble when it was first printed in the London Evening Standard in March 1966, but when it came out again 4 months later in the teen magazine Datebook, things got more hot. Some radio DJs in the US smashed Beatles records live on air and told people to send their own Beatles records and other items to the station to be smashed too. Lennon's song Imagine, in which he sang about a dream world with, quote, no religion, almost became a hit right away and is now seen as a masterpiece. The affair of Ingrid Bergman was a married actress who was very happy. For fans to stay with the team, they had to believe that. Bergman and the Italian director Roberto Rossellini natural causes. But things went in a bad direction. There were, however, thought to be natural causes, but things went in a bad direction. There were, however, many ideas quickly spread in Hollywood. The most popular one was that Hearst shot Ince instead of Chaplin because he thought his wife was having an affair with Charlie Chaplin, who was also on board. The Nazi friends of Walt Disney. A lot of people think that Walt Disney was against Jews. Even so, there isn't much evidence to say that it's not true. And he didn't think twice about hanging out with openly anti-Semitic people. Walt Disney was kind enough to show Leni Riefenstahl around Disneyland when she came there in 1938. Triumph of the Will, Riefenstahl's most famous propaganda movie, came out in 1935, not long after Kristallnacht. Disney was the only studio head who made Riefenstahl feel welcome when she came to Hollywood. At the end of the first Superman, George Reeves was the first person to play Superman. He was officially said to have killed himself in 1959, but there were rumors that he had killed himself. Based on the proof that was found after he died, it doesn't seem likely that he killed himself. Reeves had been seeing Eddie Mannix's wife, who was a famous Hollywood director. From different sources, including the Joan Crawford story, we know that Mannix was connected to the mob. Alfred Hitchcock was rude to Tippi Hedren. Before the Me Too movement, Hollywood was a place where men could show off their power over weak women. Alfred Hitchcock was charged by actress Tippi Hedren of harassing her while they worked together in the 1960s. She said that he grabbed her, tried to kiss her, and put in a secret door between his office and her dressing room. She wrote in her autobiography, Tippi, a memoir, that Hitchcock would find some way to express his obsession with me, as if I owed him something. The 2012 movie The Girl was mostly about Hitchcock's long-rumoured obsession with Hedren. The movie didn't show the famous director in a good way. Teen Brides by Charlie Chaplin. During his lifetime, Charlie Chaplin was married 4 times. Before he got married again, he was 29 years old. After that, he was 53 years old. His women were all about the same age, though. Both of his first wives were 16 years old. To get around California's marriage rules, he married his second wife in Mexico. They were 47 years old when they got married, which was a good age for them. He went back, though, for his 18-year-old fourth and last wife. Charlie Chaplin was sent away from the United States. When U.S. Attorney General James P. McGranary called Charlie Chaplin anti-American, he was in the news for all the wrong reasons another time. When Chaplin went to the UK in 1952 to promote his last movie, Limelight, McGranary wouldn't let him back into the country. In the end, Chaplin gave up his permission to come back to the United States, moved to Switzerland, and wouldn't go back until he got an honorary Oscar in 1972. It was said that Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich had an affair. Marlene Dietrich and Greta Garbo both came to Hollywood from Europe around the same time and had a lot in common, but they never showed public respect for each other. Anyway, there was a big fight over a 1925 movie called Joyless Street that was thought to be lost. Some people said that Dietrich was also in the movie with Garbo, but Dietrich denied it. A film expert carefully watched the Cervan footage and found that Dietrich did show up in the movie. She also believes the actress lied because she and the other woman had a passionate but short-lived affair while working on Joyless Street. This made them hate each other forever. Her agent was shot by Joan Bennett's husband. Little Women came out in 1933 with Joan Bennett and Katharine Hepburn in the lead roles. Bennett later married Walter Wenger, who produced the movie. Wenger heard Bennett and her longtime agent Jennings Lang talking in 1951, which caused a lot of trouble for Bennett. Wenger is said to have taken out a gun and started shooting at Lang's crotch out of anger. Lang got better in the hospital. Wenger went to jail for 4 months, and Bennett's career went south. The sad end of Peg Entwistle. Peg Entwistle was a young actress from Britain who went to the US to try to become famous. After her big theatre debut, she had a few small roles and was in a show with Humphrey Bogart. But nothing big happened after that. Because of the Great Depression, it was harder to find work. Since she had just been fired from RKO Studios, she didn't have many chances to become popular. Entwistle said she was going to the drugstore when she left her house on September 16, 1932. She went up to the famous Hollywood sign, climbed the top of the H, and then threw herself off. She was only 24 years old. People now know about her death and call her the Hollywood Sign Girl. A part of her story was told on the Netflix show Hollywood. 3 people died while making a movie. A terrible accident happened in California while the movie Twilight Zone was being filmed. Vic Morrow, Renee Shin Shen, and Micah Din Lee, 3 young actors, were killed when a helicopter crashed while they were shooting a scene from the Vietnam War. John Landis, who co-directed the movie, and 4 other people, including the chopper pilot and person in charge of the movie's special effects, were charged with manslaughter without intent. They were charged with a crime for the first time ever for something that happened while they were making a movie. All 5 of the people who were accused were found not guilty after a 10-month trial in 1987. The strange death of Ted Healy. Ted Healy was a mainstay in vaudeville. He was a comedian, actor, and the brains behind the famous humor group The Three Stooges. In 1927,